Hi guys, so I just want to talk a little bit about the events that actually led up to my medical discharge. So as I said in a previous video, my job was my life, and I absolutely do mean that. And my worst nightmare was being medically discharged, so I had to learn how to play the system for my own survival. Following my injury in 2004, I became a pro at just managing to keep my profile low enough to keep off the radar and so as not to risk being medically discharged. I wouldn't say I manipulated service doctors, manipulated is quite a strong word, but I definitely learned how much I could get away with telling them, or more importantly not telling them. I worked out the limit of the medication I could take without being signed off sick, but this meant however that I was under-medicated for years. I was determined to just grit my teeth and get on with it. I was very lucky that the majority of my line managers and junior officers were very happy to help me try my hardest to stay in the service, but I definitely learnt that I could be more honest with some than others. So, after my prolapse in 2004, they decided not to operate. This is because the body tries to heal itself, especially young people. It was explained to me a bit like a jam donut. So the wall of your disc, the donut, has ruptured or torn, and the soft centre of the disc, the jam, has come out and is pressing against nerves, or is in places that it otherwise shouldn't be. But what the body tries to do is it tries to suck that jam back in. And when they scanned me with an MRI machine in the following months after my injury, they could see that this was exactly what had happened. So a major prolapse ended up just being a tiny amount of jam left protruding out of my disc. However, in the following years things slowly started getting worse, which is why I visited Headley Court so many times, as they kept trying to keep me fit enough to do my job. I had to become a pro at managing my work life so as not to draw attention to myself. In around 2010, I was living at home and commuting to work. I was lucky that my boss at the time was completely on board and allowed me to alter my working hours so I wouldn't have to go sick. I would wake up at 5:30 AM, get my physio done, get ready and then drive to work so I could start at 7 AM. I would then take my painkillers so that I was safe to have driven to work. I would then work a normal morning and find somewhere quiet at lunch so I could do more physio and just lay down and rest for half an hour. I would then work for the afternoon and finish at 3:30. Drive home, take more painkillers, do more physio and have some dinner with my wife so I could be in bed by 6:30. So that meant I could rest for 11 solid hours to do it all again the following day. I would spend my entire weekend resting in bed so I could do it all again the next week. I had absolutely no social life, no time to see friends or family or just do normal stuff. I'd just done what needed to be done to keep my job. Looking back at it now, it all seems crazy. I knew that I was walking on eggshells, and the slightest thing could undo the whole system that I had created. Then in 2012, something happened that brought the whole thing crashing down around me. It was the simplest of things. I was on duty driving an MT car to a nearby station for an appointment. Before I got out of the car, I wanted to tuck the back of my shirt into my trousers, so I pushed my feet into the footwell to lift my bum off the seat. And as soon as I'd done it, I felt this sensation in my back, a bit like when you tear the leg off a cooked chicken carcass. I felt a stabbing pain and my left foot went numb, with pins and needles. I knew exactly what I had done, and all I remember feeling was dread. I broke down in tears and hobbled to the med centre, where I was sent to the hospital for an MRI scan. My disc had prolapsed again, but this time there would be no going back. I was signed off sick and sent home for weeks on end. With rest and crazy amounts of physio that I'd learnt at Headley Court, slowly things started to improve. and I managed to persuade a doctor who visited me from RAF Henlow that if he could post me to a unit closer to where I lived, I would be able to go back to work. So they arranged for something called an environmental posting for me, and I started a back to work program, slowly increasing my hours day by day, week by week. All the time lying to doctors, telling them exactly what I knew they wanted to hear, that things were better than what they actually were. I was using a walking stick off duty, and luckily no one ever noticed me. And I managed to hobble around the building when at work, all the time with terrible pins and needles in my left foot, trying not to draw too much attention to myself. I would manage well for a few weeks, and then have to take a few weeks off. I'd have to phone in sick the odd day here and there, but as I was overborne at my unit, my boss was amazingly supportive. It was never an issue. I was P7 at the time, but sure enough was called to med boards, where after a thorough review, and I was there for a full day, of all my medical notes, records, scans and an examination, I was made P0 and told that I would be medically discharged. So all in all, and in hindsight, I don't think I could have done any more than I did. I managed to massage a 13-year career from the Royal Air Force, and for that I feel incredibly lucky. Had I been in a different trade, not had the support of some truly amazing junior officers and line managers, and a desk officer that simply got what I was trying to do, things could have ended up very different. Thank you.